All right, this is Conversation Convo Combos, and we're actually talking about regrets. This is like a CVS long list of regrets, and if you've been to CVS, you know exactly what I'm talking about because them shits that be getting printed out, it seems like that shit's never ending. But one of my number one regrets is that I wish I would have spent more time with my dad about learning about cars, because I wish I would have got more education about fixing vehicles on the internal part as opposed to the exterior part. Now, I went to MST, which was a program that they had at Central High School, and it taught me a good amount of like dealing with vehicles that get like dented, scrapes against the vehicle and stuff like that. How to buff, how to do paint, how to really make the car look like nothing ever happened to it. So that was definitely one of like my regrets. And there was a lot of times that my pops would be like working on this vehicle, and he'll come upstairs with his hands dirty because we lived on the second floor, and he would like, oh, I finally got the piece out. And I was just like, oh, like, well, what piece are you talking about? Like the piece I was telling you about that I was struggling with. Like I finally got it out. I was like, oh, okay. And I was like, I didn't know what the hell he was talking about. And then when I started messing around with my own vehicle and stuff like that, I was just like, damn, like I wish I had education. And then when my dad was there at the time, he was like, oh, well, like, you have to do this and get to there because you can't just pull that piece out because that's in the midsection of it. You have to take this piece out, that piece out, so that way you can get to that. Because if you just try to pull that piece out, how the hell are you going to put that piece back in? And I was like, oh, okay. And then when you're dealing with like cars, it's a lot of nuts and bolts. But definitely, what I would say for a huge piece of advice is have yourself like a plastic cup, so that way you can put all those pieces that were keeping that piece in there aside. So that way you don't lose those nuts and bolts. So that way you kind of have it right then and there. And definitely get yourself like a nice set of a toolkit. Like have your all range of sizes from like, like from 16-inch, 14-inch, 12-inch, all that
Shit, you
stuff
can go
like
all
that.
the way down to probably like 6 inches, five
Yeah,
inches, just because, or millimeters even, because you just never know.
yeah,
But
and it helps out a lot. It helps out a lot. And it definitely comes down getting yourself a light. Definitely having
yeah,
yourself light if you're gonna be working out. Not working out, but like if you're trying to be working in the dark, definitely get that, so that way you can obviously see what you're doing. You don't have to have somebody standing there with a light. And also, like, people don't really take this into consideration, but have yourself like a speaker. Don't gotta be like JBL or something like that, but have yourself a speaker because it kind of gets you into the flow of things. Because for me, when I have music in the background, whether I'm cleaning, working out, or fixing something or doing something for someone or whatever like that, when I got music in the background, especially if I'm at work, music always comes like so good to make the ride so much smooth because now you're just over here chilling, you're in the flow of things. Okay, I know what I gotta do. I gotta take this piece out, gotta take that piece out. Bada bing, bada boom, put the screw over there. Alright, pop that out, flip this over, you know, carefully take that out, maybe grease it up a little bit, and then pop the stuff back in, put the nuts back in, make sure it's nice and tight. Maybe turn on the vehicle to make sure that it's running right. If something doesn't sound right, take it back out, look at it and stuff like that.
yeah. I think people forget the fact that we have technology now. So, prime example, like you said, you can listen to music. A lot of people are like, "Oh, I gotta watch a step-by-step YouTube video." It's like, okay, watch that video. Watch about a minute clip of it, or a
Yep.
minute and plus seconds, just to get the next 3, 4 steps or whatever, however many steps you can focus on. And once you do that, all you gotta do is just swipe over and then go to your next window, which had YouTube Music or Pandora or whatever you listen to music on. boom, hit play on your music. Start doing those steps that you saw in the YouTube video while you wait.
Yeah.
And once you finish those steps, you pause your music, swipe over, watch the rest, watch some more of the video, and so on. Because, I mean, knowledge is key.
Oh, yes.
Knowledge is key. A self-efficient person is a person to be reckoned with.
Oh, yes. And then another regret that I would have to say is that, I don't know, I wish I would have, been a little bit more mature in certain relationships that I went through. I feel like certain relationships that I went through, I could have been more mature and acted more upon. And I mean, that's to say to least about certain things in certain situations I was going through and stuff like that. Could I handle that in a better way? Could I have said this as opposed to that? Could I have done a little bit more? You know what I mean? It's those shoulda, coulda, wouldas that make you kind of like really like think about it and stuff like that. But we are our past, but that doesn't dictate of like who we can become. And when it comes down to relationships and stuff like that, certain things makes you kind of like think about like, oh damn, like I did this with this person, but I don't want to do that again with the next person that's coming along the line, or I seen what that person did to me in the past. So it's like I'm definitely not looking for something like that if that's how their attributes are, you know what I mean? So yeah, it's just about, you live and you learn. You kind of take those lessons and you kind of like really like dive deep in detail, and you really extract what you kind of find, and really also visualize yourself of what you're kind of looking upon for, because you don't want to mold yourself into something that like someone else is trying to mold you into. You know what I mean? I don't think any human being should try to change eternally who they are. Like if you're a person who likes to be a homebody, then you're homebody. There's nothing wrong with that. No person should be discriminated or make themselves feel like shit. Like, oh, like my spouse wants to go out to this club, or my spouse wants to go on vacation. I mean, I've never really been on like vacation, so I can't really say. I've probably been on vacation once, and that was with like family. But I've never really been the type of person to be like, oh, like, let's go to Brazil, or like let's go to Palm Beach or whatever like that. I've never really been that type of person. Would I subject to it? No. You know what I'm saying? I'm always the type of person to be down for whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like sometimes for me it's just like instantaneous with a switch to be like, yeah, let's go. Let's do it. It's not really gonna take me much to be like, yeah, let's go. I mean, like perfect example. I mean, my boy Mike invited me to go to the pool. And I was kind of like, oh, I don't know, I'm probably gonna just like chill at home and watch Netflix. But I was just like, you know what, like the pool's not really far away. Like let me just go and like just go to the pool and just like check it out and see how it is and stuff like that. It's those moments in your life where you kind of like dictate, and you kind of like trying to like not talk yourself out, but like kind of like really like think about it. And you're just like, I could do this. Or I could do that and actually experience something new. Same thing like me moving down here. I was a little skeptical about it, mainly because of the long drive. that drive was extreme. I mean, you're not talking like just like maybe like a 2 or 5 hour. You're talking about like a 20-hour drive, and that was just.
That's being generous.
Yeah, that's just being generous.
24 hours, really.
So if you're going continuously, like, ooh, kudos. But if you're, kind of like taking your pauses and you're taking your breaks, like, you're able to kind of like absorb it, and you're kind of just going through the motions and stuff like that. I think for me, it was definitely the irritation of like the hours, because like for me, like I don't really drive those long hours, but like I had to get myself like kind of prone and used to it, and I was just like, okay, like I'm not even paying attention to the time at this point, because after the first or 2 or 3 hours, you're kind of just like, all right, like all right, I'm in here for the long haul. Like I gotta commit. I gotta keep going.
Yeah.
So just keep on going to gas station, fill up the tank, then drive again, fill up the gas tank, drive again. And it's just like okay, rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat. And then you're checking out the exits. You know, we need to go here, we need to go there, and stuff like that. So yeah, like once you get yourself into that motion, it gets a little bit easier, but then at the same time it kind of deteriorates towards it where you're just like when's the ending point. It was just kind of like similar towards like a relationship. I mean, you're not seeking an ending point, but you're also kind of like seeking when this person's gonna fuck me over. Like what?
Yeah.
Well, what are they hiding? Like what are they doing? But you don't want to you don't you don't want to protrude. You don't want to investigate. You don't want to do stuff like that. You kind of just want the information to get like fall upon you.
Yeah.
But if you are the type of person to kind of like investigate and stuff like that, odds are if you're looking for something, you're gonna find it. Point blank and simple. Like if you look through a person's phone, you're most likely gonna find it. You know what I mean? And then another regret that I have is yeah, I wish I would have spent more time with my family. You know, family's another huge major component because you kind of think like for me like I've always felt like I was the black sheep in the family. Sad to say, it's just one of those things. It's like you kind of feel like you're the reject of the family. Nobody really fucks with you. Nobody really talks to you. You know, like they just like see you and they're just like, oh, like hey, how you doing? Like just a small casual talk, but like to really like get more like down deep and stuff like that, you kind of like try to like like see what the hell's going on. And I spoke to one of my cousins, my oldest cousin, and I actually spoke to her about this too, and I was just like, like I know that like y'all don't really feel this type of way about me, or like y'all like kind of like treat me like the black sheep. And she was just
it's not true, but it's a feeling that you can't help feeling.
Exactly, and she was just like, oh, like why would you even say that? Like no, like that's not how we feel about you at all. I was like, oh, okay, well, like thank you for the confirmation, but you know what I'm saying? It's just like it's always in the back of your mind. So
yeah,
those are just like my 3 regrets so far. Do you?
I definitely have some regrets. One that we were actually just talking about off podcast was me deciding when I was younger. I had it. I don't remember what it was, but I was a kid, elementary school, and I was like, I'm done with you, Mom. I'm done. Like I want to go live with my dad. I don't like you. Like you didn't let me eat ice cream after a certain time. Whatever the heck it was, I was just like, I was done. I'm like, I want to live with my dad. And my mom was the type of no bullshit person. Like, she doesn't care. She's like, you want to go live with your dad? Fine. Fine. Like, you're disowned to me. Go. And so, literally did. I went and I stayed with my dad. Went to Wilson Street School for not long. Like, I don't even remember if I was there long enough to get enrolled or what. But literally, my dad dropped everything, was like, yeah, go ahead, come live with me. And that's what I can respect about him. But we can get into that later on another topic. And so I did. And then shortly after, I was crying and whining him that I was like, I miss my mom. Da, 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 da. And the next thing you know, I was back living with my mom again and enduring the same pain and suffering that no kid should ever endure, or I wish upon any kid. It's just too. I mean, you want to talk about demonetization? If I even talk about any of the stuff, it'd be shut down. But anyways, so that's one regret I have, that I could have saved myself, but I was a child. I didn't know any better.
Right.
And then another regret would be probably, not to piggyback off you necessarily, but relationships. Definitely, I feel like everybody can almost relate to this to some degree when you're in high school and even just fresh out of high school, you're going through relationships. You look back on it, and you're like, I could have handled this differently. Like maybe I was a little uptight about this. Maybe I was too laid back with this, and let them get away with too much. And I should have just nipped this in the butt and moved on. Or so there's a lot of situations. Like I had one. I was with her, and then I was telling my buddy, I was like, hey man, I knew she didn't like me. She ended up trying to talk to you and get with you. Then she went and ended up leaving me anyways. And she went and she's already talking with someone else. And, she's just, I just, I want to say a bunch of shit to her, but I can't. And then he ended up saying that shit for me to her on my behalf and, really laid into her. And, made it, I remember she called me up crying. And it was just I mean, me and her had our exchange of blows prior about shit, and then obviously, like I said, I told my friend that there's some shit I wish I could say to her, but anyways, so I was like, okay, I told my friend, I said, hey, chill, let's chill now, she gets the point,
Yeah.
but now looking back on it, it's why did we do that, it's kind of childish when you think about it now, but I mean, it's a regret, but you can't fix it now. We're kind of where we are now. So, a lot of, like we say from that episode of Daredevil, the lawyer says, good people, the bad person can do a lot of good but then they could do something bad. The same with a good person. A good person can do a lot of good, but then do something bad.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's kind of, you take the shots with what they are and you try to do better with them and improve. Another thing, I wish I was better in the past with my finances. I wish I definitely was much better with my finances. I'm paying for it now, and I've been paying for it. And I mean, you've said it countless times, and tons of people have said it countless times to me, oh, you're great with finances, you're really good at math, show me the ways, senpai. I'm I don't think you realize, I mean, I guess you could look at it as kind of hey, I learned from my mistakes. That's why I'm so good. It's because I've screwed up so many different ways and recovered from it so many different times. It's kind of I mean, to branch off of, your neck of the woods, it's kind of like a boxer or a person training at the gym. You can only do it wrong so many times before you get the form down, before you get that distance measured. Yeah. You're eventually gonna learn it. So I wish I learned and studied back then finances a little more seriously.
Yeah.
I think I kind of was just they taught me in school how to sign a check, but they didn't. That's all they taught me, how to balance a book and write a check. And I don't even know if they do that now, even. But they never taught you what it meant if you opened a credit card or APR rates, or if you go to a grocery store. What's that? They got the main number that tells you the price, but they don't tell you, that little number that tells you how much it is per ounce of that item, so you can break it down even deeper.
So you can get more bang for your buck.
Yeah, they don't.
They
taught all that.
They don't really, unfortunately, they don't really specify that.
I mean, even you don't learn how to sew anymore.
No.
Or if you do, it's very quick and you learn a very simple tactic, and you're lucky as a kid. They teach it so young too, because it's you teach a kid too young how to do a jack trade or anything like that, they're not going to retain it.
Well, the thing is that we have that benefit of having that muscle memory. So once the tools are in our hand, then we kind of get a good idea, but we might, eventually need that refresher. One of my regrets is that I wish I would have started working out a little bit earlier. I mean, when I first started working out, I want to say I was either like, I think I was, yeah, I was 15, and this was oddly enough, this was actually out of my first breakup, and it was like in elementary school, and that one like took like a little bit of a heavy blow on me. I mean, it was like my first relationship, in elementary school, so you know felt some type of way about it. But funny enough, I didn't. I didn't even have dumbbells. I didn't have dumbbells. I didn't have really much of the equipment to work out with. So I was doing push-ups, sit-ups, but I was actually using car parts. I was using car parts from my dad, and I was curling with the car axles as acting like they were dumbbells and barbells.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, I didn't have anything at the time, so I was like, I gotta try to find something that has weight so I can kind of like pack it on. But yeah, I wish I would have started learning more about like working out at a young age, so that way I could kind of build a little bit better physique. But I mean, hey, you know, no time is better than the present, or no time is better than like just developing yourself and getting yourself used to like the format and stuff like that, and then you want to start diving deep into it. I was a little bit reckless about it, but I started establishing certain stuff that was able to work for me. I mean, when you're going on that aspect, and we'll talk about that in another conversation combos about like whole gym and fitness and stuff like that. But yeah, when you're diving into that aspect, you really get deep and down with certain stuff that you're feeling internally. So you're able to kind of extract certain stuff that you were dealing with on a negative point and use it towards a positive to kind of implement yourself, amplify of where you're going on and stuff like that. um
And
ano-
you've come a long way. I kid you not. You were a twig. I mean, I've sent you the pictures, and for anybody like viewing, he was a twig. I mean, I right now in the condition I'm in, I was bigger than him. Like my 5-year-old daughter could probably take him on back then, and then now it's like he's like he came in that, like he said, all of a sudden, like 15, whatever, 15, 16 years old, you said, all of a sudden you came back in, and I was like, dude,
yeah,
who are you?
I started building up muscle like sporadically, like around like from the past age from like 16 all the way up, and then when I really went into it, it was like around like I want to say like 18 to like around 20 when I was starting to pack on a lot of muscle, because I was taking creatine, and I was taking protein. I never did steroids. I never even bothered to step into that zone because I was just not really interested in stuff like that. But
I found it. Sorry, I wasn't trying to be rude. I found the picture. But
yeah. Oh yeah.
super scrawny.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That was me. That was me. All right. Super scrawny. Super scrawny, and like I said, I build this exterior out of a lot of deep dark stuff that was like
But I
depth
mean,
into
look at the results. Like, you got to be proud of that, to go
Yeah.
from that picture. Not that like that was a bad kid, but you went from being that kid who everybody was like, oh, whatever. Like you said, when you worked at the coach stop, it was like they kind of walked all over you, and then suddenly you start working out and you're getting big and all this muscle mass. All of a sudden they're like, whoa, hey.
Yeah, that was that was the kitchen manager that actually started like taking some recognition, because he didn't he was like kind of skeptical about it, because he was just like, oh, like, Brian, have you been working out? I was like, yeah, I've been working out and, doing my thing and stuff like that. It's like, oh, okay. It's like, yeah, I've been noticing you've been getting kind of big because, like, dude, this is the sucky thing when you're taking a bulk protein. It's not like a 1 to 2 scoop ratio. It's a 4 scoop ratio, and I was doing that like twice a day. And back then, I didn't really have too much responsibility, so I was able to blow money. So I was just blowing my money on getting like protein and creatine, but I didn't really like hack too much on the creatine because like it will usually last you for like 30 days, but the bulk only lasts you for like about like a week or so. So I was just throwing my money on that. But yeah, man. I remember those nights that I would like take that protein and I was doing my doubles and oh man, getting out from work and then like going
Doubles and then gym.
yeah. Well, I'm going to the gym like 3 times a day. I would never really think about that, but I think I was like people can say that like I was sick. I had a problem, but I was just hooked. I
You're
was
in a zone.
I was in the zone and I was hooked and I just was like so focused on like getting big, getting big, getting big, getting big and stuff like that. But the thing is I focused on so much on the top half, I didn't focus on the bottom half and you gotta kinda like balance them out and then I was never the type of person who liked it doing squats, but now I'm doing squats a lot more. That's how I kind of start off my workout week is that I would normally start off with legs and kind of dictate the rest of my week and stuff like that. Sometimes I'll hit legs twice a week and just try to like make up for why I couldn't hit on the first you know leg day workout. Just doing what I gotta
Well,
do.
and you notice too that you know the go-to is when people are doing something and they're really invested in it and they love it. Like you going to the gym 3 times a day, like you said, people are like, dude, you must be sick. You're like addicted to it. Same thing with like video games. Like you're really into a game and like you go to work all day, you come home, you make lunch, you do your thing, maybe take a shower, get ready, get all your stuff ready for dinner, and then you're like, I'm gonna play the game, and then eat dinner, and then play the game again, and they're like, dude, you're playing the game like all day after work. That's all you do, and they're like, you must like be addicted or sick. Like video games are poison in your brain, and it's like, no, the gym's not poisoning my brain. The video game's not poisoning my brain. I'm doing something that I'm passionate about and that I like, and that
Yeah.
I'm getting enjoyment out, and it's being labeled. And we're,
Yeah.
we're so adamant about putting labels on stuff.
Yeah. Another one of my regrets I would have to say is definitely going out my element. You know what I'm saying? Like experiencing different stuff because I hate to say it, but like at the end of the day everybody dies. But you never want to leave anything that's unsaid or undone. So you want to try to experience the most you have. I mean, I'm still at that age where I can. So, I'm trying to experience everything I can, especially being in a different state, wherever they have to like kind of like, flaunt or whatever they have to like, like for opportunity wise. But definitely experiencing certain stuff, you know what I mean? Whether you're hanging out with random people, someone throws on the song and, you're just doing you and you're just dancing, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think people are very, like, concealed and constricted to a point that they don't want to be themselves and they don't want to actually, like, live
Show
out.
true colors.
Yeah, show their true colors and like really live out. You know what I'm saying? Like live out and enjoy your experience because like who's to say that you're not gonna get this opportunity again? You know what I'm saying? Like you might as well talk to that person that you saw that was very good looking or you might as well dance to that song that, this is your jam. You know it's your jam, you know all the lyrics. So might as well dance to it if they're playing it at like that public place, whatever like that, and you're doing you or you know a person is like, they're dealing with a certain situation and you already know how it is and then you're like, oh yeah, I could help you out with that. And just like, oh, you know what this is? Like, because I can't figure this out and I can't solve it. It's like, yeah. Like, let me show you or like, like I'll show you what I know and then you kind of just follow my lead, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
To each its own, teach one, learn one.
Mm.
That's the way that I was kind of brought up is that like, you know what I mean? Whatever you know, you kind of drop it off across a person because they kind of they could take that with them. Whether they take it with a grain of salt or whether they take that to their heart and they're like, oh, you know what, like so and so taught me this, so it's like now I know how to do that. You know what I mean? And it just goes very deep down to depth for you to like really experiment with like a lot of stuff. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that you gotta try everything underneath the sun and moon, but like don't be afraid to like go out of your element and like try different stuff. You know what I mean? Like you say you don't like rock climbing, but you never really tried rock climbing, or you don't like going traveling, but you never went traveling. Or, you know what I'm saying? Like
it's like we're not saying like, go climb a mountain, go on Mount Washington and scale it with some climbing gear. Like, no, maybe start off small. Go to like a rock climbing place and do it indoors where you have a harness and you literally have a strap to lock you in. Like, I mean, you can have training wheels. There's like ways to, live and be cautious.
Yeah.
It's always okay to be cautious, but when you start to be overcautious and you're like, oh, I'm just thankful I woke up today. Oh, I have a job and a roof over my head. I'm thankful. Okay. Are you going to be thankful when you're in the grave, or you get, you're crossing that street, you get hit by a car, or maybe you get off the highway and you get T-boned and you're like in that hospital bed and you're like, oh my God, am I dying? Like, hang on a minute. I wanted to go to that, like, there was that restaurant I wanted to go to and try out that cheeseburger. As stupid as it sounds. But
one thing I can say, which is not a regret, which I was happy to experience, is shooting a gun.
Yeah.
Because like shooting a gun, like the first time experience, I was just like, dude, like, is it gonna do this? Is it gonna do that? How loud is it gonna sound? But I brought my own gear and I brought my own gun and I even brought my own like papers to like shoot at and stuff like that. So I had everything covered. I just was paying for the range, which came out like even cheaper than I thought. I was like, oh, okay. But they're very like extra about it. Like saying like they don't want you to be like like having your gun all willy nilly, especially in the lobby. They don't want you to be like aiming down your gun at me around people and stuff like that. It has to be down range and stuff like that. If you're gonna load up the gun, saying it has to be like this certain type of way. But whatever regulations. After you get past that part and stuff like that, it was like when I actually had the gun in my hand and I pulled the trigger, I was just like, damn, dude, like this is crazy, bro. Like just feeling the power out of something coming out from your hand, and then you're pulling that trigger and you're hearing the sound, and then you're feeling the impact once you hit the hammer with the trigger. It's just like, damn,
what used to be like a thought, like, oh, this, like I've seen this in video games.
You've seen this in video games. You heard it in like songs and stuff like that. Like there was this one song that I was listening to, and it was like it was a rap song. It was I'm trying to remember. I think it was like Bernie Siegel or something like that, and he was like saying like, oh, to kill a man with a wave of a hand, the shit is sweet. And I was just like, damn, bro, like I really feel that way, because like, dude, like to literally like have that power to kill a man with the wave of a hand. I mean, honestly, like, you don't want to say it's sweet, but like it's just the fact that you have that power, you know what I'm saying? And another song by Royce the 5'9", where he was like saying like, oh, you can die in my parking space. It's just like, damn, dude, like that's crazy, because you know that meaning, because it's just like you felt that power from like coming from a gun.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's like, and obviously that's a touchy subject for a lot of people, is like with gun violence and stuff like that. But my thing, I mean, you get to a point where it's like, you just got to be happy to be where you are, because the fact that you can say that stuff in a song and not get reprimanded, you can have that weapon and go to a shooting range and not be reprimanded. You don't have to like, oh, like I can't, go classic hunting with a rifle and hunt deer, hunt elk, or.
I mean, I would love to go shoot a shotgun. I would love to shoot like. Actually, no, I've shot in a machine gun. So I've definitely shot a machine gun. That that was crazy because I was not expecting like how it was gonna shoot off because it was
But
like very like you would feel the vibration.
but think about that. Imagine living in another country. You probably wouldn't have that ability. They'd be like, no, you can't have a machine gun. No, you can't have a shotgun, a rifle. You can't have a pistol. Like,
So I say, hey, thank you to USA.
I mean, it's the honest truth. I mean, there's a lot of countries out there. The United Kingdom, you really, I mean, you're limited on what you can have.
Yeah,
Even the police don't have too much for gun wise
yeah,
because they don't really need it. I mean, whether you, oh, well, crime rate there, less people getting shot. Yeah, that's true. Also, if we got rid of all the cars in our country, there'd be no accidents.
yeah,
Is that a good thing? Yes. But is it beneficial?
yeah.
Not really.
Another regret I would say is learning how to cook because now
Yeah.
I'm learning about a lot of stuff and all of the stuff that you were able to bake and stuff like that. I'm like, damn, dude, like that's crazy because you've cooked like a lot of like great like stuff, and I was just like, damn, dude, like that's crazy. Just like by a simple of like you toss this ingredient, you bake this, you wait that to like finish, and then once that cools down, then you throw that in because you already kind of like freeze frost that. You layer that layer down, then you kind of top it off, throw it back in the oven. You wait like like 15 to like 20 minutes when it's done and ready, and then you finally are able to eat something that you made.
Well, and it's
Oh,
funny too because I come from like basically a Chef Boyardee house. I never like my mom never taught me how to cook, and half the time my mom didn't. Like, she might have like soup on the stove, like chicken noodle or tomato. It wasn't nothing much because I mean, her husband at the time was not, you know,
yeah, sufficient.
so, well, he wasn't there. Literally, there was only Smurfs running his upstairs. He literally was, after she passed away, he was jumping in the pool and like all giddy and happy. If that tells you anything. Your wife just died. That's all you can do. But um, no, and the only other person that she was with that knew how to cook was my stepdad. Um, which even then, I mean, with the situations that she caused, he was only able to stick around for so long before he said, "I've had enough. I'm sorry." I mean, luckily he's still in my life and around, but I mean, that goes to show you the situations she caused that even the men she was around didn't want to stick around. And if I'm saying, I mean, this is my own mother.
Yeah,
Usually you don't downplay your mother. Usually you upplay her.
yeah,
I mean, she gave birth to me, and kudos to that for giving birth to me, and being there through my early stages of childhood and caring for me and all that kind of stuff. I'm alive at least, but no, definitely cooking didn't come. I mean, all the way up, even living with my dad. I mean, my stepmom's fried chicken that made everybody shit themselves.
I'm glad I never tried it. I
Oh
heard
my
that the chicken was
God.
really good, but
Chicken
I just
was
heard the
phenomenal.
aftermath.
I didn't. I hated that chicken. I was like, I hate her fried chicken. And then when John and Ray ate it, and they were like, "Oh my God, this is amazing," and I was like, "No way." I
Wait
tried
for
it,
it.
and I was like, "Oh my God." I'm like, "Why is it this good?" And I only tried a little bit. Next thing you know, I was in the bathroom. I'm like, "Oh my God, y'all gotta be ready. It's coming." And they're like, "What?" And Ray's like, "I gotta go home." And then he freaking ran home, and then sure enough, John was like, "I gotta go home." And then freaking, he's like, "I can't make it." And then he's like, "I'm going to Ray's." And literally, this dude ran down the street. Like, I mean, old grandpa, like, butt cheeks clenched and chest out, like, walking down the street. I was like, this dude's gonna crap himself. I'm like, oh my God. But, no, and then, now, I got everybody calls me the baker. Like, Mr. Drooly Lane. I'm like, what? Because desserts. I do all kinds of desserts, different desserts. I mean,
Yeah, but you find happiness in it. You know what I'm saying? Like I think that's the thing is like if we're able to find happiness as something that like people normally call a chore, then it's just like dude, like why are you complaining?
Yeah.
No, like I'm taking pride in my work because I'm able to see the beauty in it. Like same thing like mowing the lawn. Like people see that as a chore, but like when you get done and you
It's
see the
satisfying.
beautiful work of like after you mow that lawn, it's like oh like dude, like that's gorgeous. The grass is nice and cut. It's at that perfect level where I want. I even trimmed the hedges so it kind of matches the grass, it matches the aesthetic. I even decided to kind of like leaf blow and take off that little extra off. I even weed whacked some of the stuff that was coming in.
Are we
So
still talking about? um,
yes, we are
but
still talking about the law.
but yeah, no, you take pride in what you do, and it's a satisfaction of like, like you said, I got the grass mowed. It's really satisfying. It looks great, but if I trim this up or I do this, I can make it a little bit better. And you do it, and you're like, okay, now it's looking good, and you get more and more prideful in what you're doing, and you're experimenting and learning, and trying new ways, and like I could do this faster if I just do it this way, and then you learn techniques. But it's definitely you. You got to live life. If you don't live life, if you're waking up each day saying, "Oh, I'm thankful for being alive. I'm thankful for being alive," and you look in the mirror and you're like, "Okay, I'm gonna go to work and we're gonna have a okay day."
Yeah,
You're probably not living life. You're just going each day,
you're
one
just
step
going,
at
you're
a
just
time.
going through the punches.
Yep.
Yeah,
And you can go with the punches all you want, but when you get to the end, you're gonna be like, "Dang, I went with all these punches, and I got all these punches hit me, and I don't have a title belt to show for it."
yeah.
Like you said, step out of your comfort zone, go for that title belt. Maybe you go, "Oh wow, I actually went rock climbing," or "Oh, I actually went and went to the local pool. I don't talk to people ever, and I actually went into a pool. There was like 5, 6 people in there, granted, but
I
I went
still
in
did me.
there
Yeah,
and did me, and then I got out of the pool once too many people started coming. I got out of the pool and left. Yeah, sure, but at least you did it. You
yeah.
took that step.
Another regret I would say is definitely like I wish I would have learned more about instruments, like playing instruments like guitar, piano, and stuff, which is not to say that I still can't learn that, but I think it's just comes upon that criteria of you like putting yourself out there and putting in the discipline and dedication to it.
Yeah.
I'll always keep on reiterating it. David Goggins talking about like you have to build that discipline even though that sucks. And another great quote is like you can have this was with Will Smith is like yeah you can have this certain type of thing that you can have skill or you can have craft. Craft is something you normally have, but skill is something you have to constantly build on. And you just being able to constantly keep on building on that skill, you know what I'm saying? There's no telling where it can go, same thing for like rapping, same thing for like, like cooking, going to the gym and stuff like that. It's just you gotta keep on constantly building on that, that skill. You know what I'm saying? And it all comes down to like keeping that consistency and keeping it going. Actually, scratch it. I think it was reversed. I think it was craft and skill. So you have to keep on building on that craft.
Yes,
So
skill comes
naturally,
naturally.
crafting is that you're
You
literally
work
building it
it and
within.
built
Yeah.
on it.
So yeah.
I mean, and that's like the saying I had said before we started the podcast. I mean, a book is only great when you read it. A book is just sitting there on the shelf collecting dust. So you can put a book on a shelf, but it ain't doing you no good if it's just sitting on the shelf. I mean, I could go to Barnes and Noble and buy myself a ton of books about, how to cook a lasagna, and then put it on my bookshelf and be like, "Hey, like, you need how to cook a lasagna? I got a book on it." oh, that's great. I can teach other people how to do it, but did I actually take that book and read it myself and learn it myself?
Yeah.
Am I reaping what I'm sowing? Like, there's no point in me teaching you something that I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, because then I'm just taking other people's knowledge and bestowing it on you.
Yeah.
When I could be learning it myself and then passing the word along.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. No. I don't know. There's
there's a lot of regrets you could think about if you break it down, really.
Oh yes, yes. There's a lot of regrets that you can really like narrow it down to. Another regret that I would say is I, me personally, I think I wish I wish I would have tried harder during school. I think if I would have been more eternally with myself and kind of extract from the bullshit that was going around me and
Yeah.
stayed more eternally, it would have been better. And definitely what I mean that is like when you're dealing with like, you know, like certain relationships with friends, or you had that significant other, or you know you're dealing with like, you know, class projects, homeworks and stuff like that, really like channeling, especially if you have like a, you know, a educational type of issue. I mean, I'll be honest with you, I have ADHD, so it's a little bit hard for me to like, you know, stay on focus. So it's
Welcome to
definitely
the club.
right.
Welcome to the club.
Or having dyslexia, you know, like mixing up the numbers and stuff like that, you know.
Hard body.
Yeah, so it's just, you know, there's a lot of factors. Having what do you call it, like carpal tunnel,
Mm-hmm.
when you're dealing with like, you know, you're writing stuff for a very long time, then your hand starts feeling that type of way, it gets very stiff, you know what I'm saying? um but definitely like, you know, like just trying to like stay more focused on it, which is I feel like a lot of people they don't do, is that, you know, some people are just so like, you know, like detriment to having that person beside them that they don't know how to operate with, you know, them just by being themselves, because they never been internally by themselves. You know what I'm saying? They
Yeah.
always had that person beside them to kind of like tell them like this is what you need to do, da 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 da, and stuff like that. You know, so I think really genuinely getting to know yourself is, you know, a huge benefit for yourself. So you can kind of establish your pros and cons. You know what you got going on in yourself, and basically for you to really execute the best format idea for yourself, so that way you can, you know, live your life. You know, I mean, you're when you're laying in bed, you know, you're the person who you lay yourself in the bed with, even regardless if you have a significant other. At the end of the day, you know, you're pretty much by yourself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, we all die by ourselves. There's no one that's going to be dying with us, you know.
We don't take anything with
Yeah,
us.
we don't take anything with us. We don't take someone with us, whatever like that, you know. And there's definitely not a U-Haul that's driving behind you in the hearse. You know what I mean? There's nothing that's getting carried behind you. You know what I mean? So
It's like no one can give a spiel on like, oh, there's whether I mean you believe in God or not, it don't matter. Like it don't matter if there's an afterlife. I mean, you know, there is pearly gates. Like you said, no U-Haul. God at the gate isn't going to be like, come on in, park your U-Haul over here.
Yeah.
Or if there's not a God or a pearly gate, and you don't believe in that, I mean, the great void of blackness isn't going to let you park your U-Haul in the blackness of void. Like,
exactly. And it, it's one of those things that brings you down to that realization is that, like, again, what I bring you back to is that, like, you got to live your life. You got to live your life, and, you know, like, I would say enjoy it to the fullest, but, like, don't be to that point where you're doing things that's definitely gonna, like, severely, like, damage you and stuff like that. Like, you know, try out different things, you know what I'm saying? Like, if a person invites you to, like, you know, go to a club, or if a person invites you to go to a pool, or, you know, like, say, you know, you really want to check out that play, you know, or you really,
theater
you,
or
yeah, you like
concert.
opera, but you never really went to a live opera. So you're just like, oh, well, there's this opera around, but I don't know if I should attend to it because I don't know if it's my thing. It is your thing, but you're afraid to attend to it because you're coming up with all these excuses. I don't know if there's going to be parking. I don't know how much it's going to be. You won't know until you find out. You won't know until you go there. And that's the huge major truth is that people like to rest on the what ifs. People like to rest on like, oh well, like I was afraid to go to this because I didn't know if this was gonna happen, or I didn't know if I should go there because I don't know if this person was gonna show up. How the fuck you gonna know? But at the end of the day, guess what? Even if that happens or if this person shows up, you still went to it. You still experience it because at the end of the day, you might as well experience it. Because say if you don't go there, or say if you didn't experience it, now you're gonna go your whole entire life. It's like, damn, should have went to that opera, or damn, I should have went to that movie play, or damn, I should have went to that concert. But you decided to ditch out because you're afraid of he or she might have showed up, or you're afraid about like, like the parking or whatever like that, or how the fuck I'm gonna get there. Figure out a way how to get there by all means necessary and get yourself to that point. But yeah, that's definitely gonna wrap it up for this. This was Conversation Convo Combos, and we will see you guys soon.
Peace.